Give us a thumbnail sketch of the history of Mission Australia and the current scope of its activities.
Mission Australia has been around for 150 years now, and we were established by Christians who walked the streets of our cities, saw abject poverty and wanted to do something about it. And we've been doing that for 150 years now. At the heart of the work, we believe now in starting with early childhood. When we get kids on the right pathway in life, hopefully we can sort them out and they don't need us when they grow up. We then do a lot of work with teenagers around problem teenagers, dealing with drug-based problems, dealing with mentoring problems, keeping them education, working with kids who've got involved in the justice system, just trying to get them back on track again. With adults, our work's pretty easy. We believe in two key areas in life that are absolutely vital for people: employment and housing. And so we focus on employment, on helping people to get a job, and in housing we focus on dealing with crisis situations around homelessness, helping people out of that and getting them into long-term housing. As a Christian organisation, our belief is our work is to be the hands and feet of Christ in the community, to go out and serve as those hands and feet, and we believe that's our witness to the community, and we've believed that for a long time and we'll carry on believing that. The issue of the Charter of Rights for the people we work with is that we are working with the most disadvantaged in society, often who are voiceless, left alone, don't have support networks to stand alongside them. People who are homeless often can find it very, very difficult just to get support from basic services that the rest of us actually take for granted. And some of the time, because they're homeless, they're actually denied access to those services at all. We often see also people who come from a refugee background have had significant problems accessing services, so within the health system, within the Centrelink systems, but basic things which actually allow them to live. And some of these cases have just been dramatically awful, and really in a couple of cases have meant that there's been severe impact on people's lives, and there's been a couple of cases where we see people die unnecessarily because they haven't had access to basic services. And our belief in terms of the rights issue is actually we need something more powerful to allow people to engage effectively with bureaucracy when bureaucracy puts its hand up and says no. And that's what a Charter of Rights is all about, is providing protection for the weakest in our society. And when you work with the weakest, you suddenly understand how marginalised they are, how difficult it is for them to access even the most basic things that we have. And if you compare us to the United Kingdom on a very simple basis, in the United Kingdom there is a right to housing. So every person who is homeless has a right to a place to have a bed for the night. We don't have that in Australia, and every night 27,000 people sleep under the stars, and in our country that's unacceptable. And that's a basic area where a good set of rights and a good process to help those people actually can do something good that we should. And when you actually start the question, say, well, can you show me the theological case for this? Often there isn't a theological case. And then when you say, well, can you explain why we would stand against a Charter of Rights, which it would seem biblically the Bible tells us to protect the rights of the poor, the marginalised and the foreigners and the orphans. Why would we stand against something that can do that? And the more I've looked at it, I've seen that actually it doesn't seem to be about the poor and the marginalised and those who don't have rights. It seems to be about the rights of us and impacts it might have on us and some political views that we might hold, rather than the poor and the marginalised. And my view is when you get to the average member of the church, the day-to-day person across the church, that they care passionately about those who are suffering in our society. In fact, hundreds of thousands of Australians in churches go and help those people day in, day out. And when you do that and see those people, you see that they are lost and they don't have the rights that the rest of us have. So why, as a church, we would stand against that is actually beyond me. And the reality is that I've spent a lot of time looking at this. I've studied the United Kingdom's research, the American research and Australian research. And there's very little theological basis, in my view, for standing against the Charter of Rights. What there is a political theory about majority rules. And actually, the church's heart is actually always about supporting the minority. It's not about my rights, it's about let's give up our rights and serve others and give them rights. And I believe that that's where the church needs to stand, and I hope that the leaders of the church and the members of the church actually move to that view.